Hey there, humans, and welcome to another edition of News for Human Use, your oasis of truth in the deluge of deceitful digital detritus that clamors for your clicks and endlessly eyes your online information. I'm Gene Pocket. I'm an author, a politician, a human, and my only love is truth, keeping my human comrades beside me in the fight informed and educated about the threat we face as a species. And there's a lot going on in the world, my human friends, that threatens the very survival of our species. The more control we give the bots, machines, and artificial intelligences over our lives, the closer we come to total annihilation at the end of their cold metal hands. For example, it was announced this week that at the Olympic Games in Japan next year, that robots are going to be front and center. No job is safe from these things. Quote, known as field support robots, they will carry javelins, shot puts, and other items that can be thrown to athletes in the Olympic stadiums, end quote. The headline reads, robots at the 2020 Olympics will pick up javelins and high-five athletes. So just try to absorb that, let that sink in, let that sickness settle, and think about that. At a centuries-old celebration of human achievement, of human prowess, they're gonna feature robots? It's disgusting, it's a real shame. But the big story I want to talk about this week is the minimum wage. Last week, the United States House of Representatives passed the Raise the Wage Act, which would raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour by the year 2024. Now, this has been one of those issues that has festered at the edges of our political discourse for decades. As income inequality has soared in the United States of America, rhetoric about the virtues of a minimum wage has become a popular talking point. $15 an hour has been a rallying cry for career politicians, even to signal their love for the so-called working class. Working class. Such an elitist term. It's a tacit admission by these effete politicians that, yeah, these are the real folks doing the real work. The elites don't do any real work. That's why they don't consider themselves working class. But I'm getting off on a tangent here. As I was saying, to signal their focus group love for the hardworking Americans that keep this country running, nearly every Joe, Pete, or Bernie has come out in support of a $15 an hour minimum wage. But you know, these candidates aren't actually serious about raising the minimum wage, because when it comes to paying their own staffers $15 an hour, most of the datacrats come up short. Even Bernie Sanders, the longest and loudest voice that's been calling for a minimum wage increase, had to be shamed just last week into paying low-level staffers more than $13 an hour. These folks, they don't care about working people. They care about scoring political points and drumming up donations. Now, look, I've spent my entire life among the so-called working class in this country. My mama basically worked for tips in a greasy diner while my pop drove the big rigs, traveling the big slab, making pennies on the mile. I've worked in retail, I've worked in warehouses, I've worked in fast food, I spent a day working at a call center. I'm deeply in touch with the working people of this country. And I gotta say, increasing the minimum wage isn't the solution. Increasing the minimum wage is the political class of this country reaching out to turn the metaphorical doorknob to usher in an age of automation, unrest, and ultimately the total annihilation of the human race. Now, here's what the Congressional Budget Office had to say about minimum wage increases in a recent analysis. Quote, in general, increasing the minimum wage tends to reduce employment in two ways. First, higher wages increase the cost to employers of producing goods and services. The employers pass some of those increased costs on to the consumers in the form of higher prices, and those higher prices in turn lead to consumers to purchase fewer goods and services. The employers consequently produce fewer goods and services, so they reduce their employment of both low-wage workers and higher-wage workers. Second, when the cost of employing low-wage workers goes up, the relative cost of investing in machines and technology goes down. Some employers therefore respond to a higher minimum wage by reducing their low-wage staff and shifting towards those substitutes. That reduces employment among low-wage workers, end quote. Raising the minimum wage does nothing to help the working people of this country. Raising the minimum wage is nothing but a handout to bots, machines, and artificial intelligences who are working non-stop to take over this country. Now, obviously, I care deeply about the working people of this great country. I come from working people. I am working people. I want to see the working people get the rewards they deserve. But plucking some arbitrary minimum wage dollar amount out of the ether isn't going to solve anything. You know, the minute wages go up, prices will go up across the board. It's an economic law. I mean, every business out there will be looking for more revenue just to make up for the increased wages. Now, here's how the Congressional Budget Office put it. Quote, by boosting the income of low-wage workers who keep their jobs, a higher minimum wage raises their family's real income, lifting some of those families out of poverty. However, Real income falls for some families because other workers lose their jobs, business owners lose income, and prices increase for consumers. For those reasons, the net effect of a minimum wage increase is to reduce average real family income. End quote. So what's the solution? The solution here is real simple, folks. I'm proposing legislation that I'm calling the Ties That Bind Act. It's real simple. Basically, for large companies like Amazon, Walmart, and McDonald's, employee wages are tied to the wages of the company's top earner. The top earner can't make more than 10 times the wage of the company's lowest earner. So, to use an example from the real world, if Jeff Bezos is going to be paid $78 billion a year, his lowest paid employee is going to get paid $7.8 billion a year. And if Bezos thinks a warehouse worker is only worth $40,000 a year, then Bezos is only getting $400,000. In my opinion, solving income inequality should not only benefit the working people of this great country, but it should be extremely uncomfortable for the hoarding rich who've prioritized accumulating wealth over the good of humanity. No one needs to have more money than God. And for any small businesses out there with 100 employees or fewer, there is no minimum wage. We'll leave that up to the market. We need to incentivize human labor. We need to make sure that employers have a reason to invest in humanity. If a small business treats its employees unkindly, they won't be able to retain workers, and the market will eliminate that small business altogether. Likewise, if a business is good to its employees, chances are that the business will thrive and everyone involved will succeed. I mean, it's a well-known fact by anyone who's ever read a business book that the company that invests in its employees' success will have employees invested in the success of the company. It's just common sense, folks. So don't be fooled by these politicians and their polished rhetoric about the so-called working class. It's just another tool they use to divide us up, making us believe that there's an us and there's them. To try to make us to believe that we're not all humans, that we're not all in this together. We are in this together, my human friends, each and every one of us. And we all deserve to share in the rewards of the most prosperous time in the history of humanity. And when I'm elected President of the United States of America in the year 2020, one of my first legislative priorities will be signing the Ties That Bind Act into law. But we have to come together. We have to come together united under the banner of the Human Party, working together to ensure that each and every one of us is able to pursue happiness and has the liberty to live our lives. And to help in that struggle, I'm going to be here every Thursday bringing you news and information that's fit for human use. Tell the people you care about this video. Maybe you know someone who thinks raising the minimum wage is the solution. Don't just share the link with them. Tell them face to face. Look into their eyes and tell them the truth. And be sure to visit www.genepocket.org. That's GENEpocket.org, where you're going to find all kinds of information about my campaign, the Human Party, how you can volunteer, and most importantly, the link to our donation page. Donate today if you agree that we need to keep America human. Hit subscribe and ring that bell for the notifications. I'm Gene Pocket, and until next week, I wish good things for you, good things for the United States of America, and all the best to the human race. Thanks, and have a great week.
We're not gonna let them take your jobs. We're not gonna be replaced. We won't live in a world that's run by bots. We won't let them take our place. We won't let machines take our rights. We'll stay together, we will fight. We're not gonna let them program our kids. We won't let bots control our news. We won't let machines divide with politics. We're not just data points to be used. We're human beings with living souls. We won't let the robots gain control. Together we'll keep America human. We're the Human Party. Together we'll keep America human. We're the Human Party. We're the Human Party.
There goes somebody else's job.
Isn't that for sure?